Welcome to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio. We are here on the road, I guess, at the Superdome, where we are going to break down today's 47-10 win over the Carolina Panthers. This is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. And if you're in the market for a new car, check out my guy Matt Bowers dealerships all throughout the region. They have outstanding customer service. They have outstanding prices. They have outstanding customer care. The best car buying experience you can have. So check out Matt at one of his many locations. Man, there's so much to break down with this game. 47-10, a crazy win. I think a lot better than a lot of us expected. We're going to get into everything that we saw. What do we believe? What don't we believe? And so much more right after this really quick word from our sponsors. And we'll be right back to get into all that and more. Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute is a regional leader in orthopedic and sports medicine innovation and treatment, caring for both our active community and the New Orleans Saints. To learn more, visit ochsner.org/sportsmed. Long live you. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome into the mobile Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here in the Superdome. It is now time for this post-game edition of NewOrleans.Football. I'm Brandon Thomas, joined by Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill. It's time for our first segment presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Like Jay-Z said on the Black Album, what more can I say? The Saints coming here in the first game, 47-10 against the division Panthers. What more can you ask for from this game? Is this real? Is this real? Are you believing this?
Well, I mean, two things. I think the Panthers are maybe the most dreadful team in the NFL. I think not a lot's going right for them. Pretty sure they're going to have to draft another quarterback, or at least it's heading that direction. Not good for them at all. But I also think the Saints had supreme execution. It doesn't matter if you're playing the worst team in the league, best team in the league, whoever. Like, scoring on 9 consecutive drives is really hard to do. And I think they executed as well as anybody could have executed. Defense was playing incredible. Special teams was playing incredible. But, I mean, we're here to talk about the offense to start out with. And, yeah, I believe in some of the stuff we saw today. Is it going to be that every week? No, I mean, they're going to score on 9 consecutive drives every week. There's some help there from the other team, but it was a great first step. And all we have to judge is training camp, preseason, and this. And what we saw in training camp and this meshed together a little bit. So I'm believing in some of it. Am I believing in all of it? Am I expecting them to win 13 games now because of how good they look? No, but I think they looked really good today, and I think the expectations of what we had, I think, all offseason, the hope, I think, was baked into kind of some of the stuff we were saying and how we were analyzing. And I do feel like, I wrote my story like it's kind of like moving down the scientific method. You start with the hypothesis, get to the conclusion. We aren't to the conclusion yet, but I think the hypothesis was Clint Kubiak could be a pretty good offensive coordinator, and maybe he can make them a little bit better. And I think on first step, it's like, okay, we'll continue to explore that idea. I think that's where you're at on it.
Yeah, the Bunsen burner was cooking today.
Yeah.
Right. Thesis and whatnot. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Keep you up.
Yeah.
Look, this is better than I thought they looked like this summer. I mean, of course, this is better than any offense has ever looked like in the history of football. But I didn't know this is more like the best theoretical version of this offense when we started talking about Clint Kubiak and when we started looking at 49ers tape and when we started talking about the original Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak offenses with assistant coaches like Rick Dennison and John Benton and obviously Andrew Janoka that he brought from former staffs. I mean, the very first play of the game was a wide zone run with Taysom Hill in motion out in front of Alvin Kamara for 9 yards. And it was like, oh, you just did everything that we listed that we might see in this offense on one play, and it's 2nd and 1. And was it 2nd and 1 ever once last season for 17 games? And then obviously there's a 59-yard touchdown pass from Carr to Shaheed at the end of that. And a lot of other good things. I mean, 12-yard run, 9-yard run, 9-yard run, 17-yard run, another 17-yard play. We can't expect that all the time, but I mean, all the things that we've liked are you going to use these players in smarter ways? Is the run going to set up the play action? Are you actually going to be able to run the ball and stay out of the chains? Of course, some of that stuff is real. And then if you're not really an X and O's person and you look at the Saints and you're worried that they got stale, you're worried that they lost player buy-in, you're worried that the players have quit on the coach or they've lost their enthusiasm. Well, we certainly saw that sort of like unmeasurable stuff today, too. This was a team that kind of felt like they wanted to come out here and send a message, and they certainly did in week 1.
Just the way everything went together, like it built. Alvin had space to run. That was encouraging to see. The way they were using Rashid Shaheed, he felt like a new player. He only had 3 catches, and I was surprised to see that at the end of the game. But like the way where they had him running routes and just doing stuff in space, like that's the word I keep coming back to is like space. Like it just felt like it was so much easier to get everything done. I'm incredibly encouraged by it. I really am. And when they hired this guy, we thought that he was going to bring this stuff here, and he did. Like he went out and he did what he had to do in week 1. I think you have to be extremely cynical to just kind of not see any positive in that at all. I'm extremely positive about the stuff we saw today. Again, I don't think it guarantees success next week against Dallas. I don't think it guarantees success against Philadelphia. I don't think it guarantees success against Kansas City. But I will say that, like, after seeing some of the stuff that we thought we were going to see in this game, the little stretch there, like the Atlanta and Tampa games, feel a little less daunting today than maybe they did this morning after seeing it.
Tampa looked good today, too, though, to be fair.
Yeah, but, I mean, they played well. It wasn't abject disaster on the offensive line. It wasn't, the timing issues on the offense that we saw in the preseason weren't present. Like, it was really, really, really smoothed out today. And again, this is the best it's ever going to be. I thought Derek Carr put it well when he said today kind of showed you what the potential the offense could be. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to put it because it's probably never going to touch this again. But if everything does work perfect, this is what it can be. And I mean, they feel a little bit more legitimate than they did, I think, before kickoff today.
I thought you were actually referencing Carr's comment, which I know was in your story as well too, but where he was like, he just like paused in the middle of like the third grade, how great are you question. He goes, boy, I hope you guys remember all this later in the season.
Yeah.
When we don't look this good, how much you love me and how much you love Clinton, how much you love Kamara.
Yeah, when the game started and, even you were saying, when you saw Rashid get open, you were like, oh my gosh, they're about to hit him. And then they hit him. And the only thing I could think about, kind of harkening back to what I started off the show with, is what more can I say from Jay-Z? That song starts off with the line from Maximus from Gladiator, are you not entertained? Is this not what you came here for? And that's what I came here for, to see the Clint Kubiak offense in effect making things happen. And that'll roll on to our next segment presented by Urban South. The change in offensive coordinator, like, how massive? Is it bigger than we thought? Is it bigger than we thought? Is this much of a massive change?
Well, here's the thing. Again, I don't think they hired someone who knows how to score 47 points a game. But, I mean, the most optimistic I ever was about this team was, if you tell me that you could take last year's team and probably an improved defense, which I think we saw today, and I assume we're going to see an improved defense, and just take them from being the 31st rushing offense to the 20th rushing offense, just for crying out loud, make it be 2nd and 5 once in a while, not always 2nd and 10, and 3rd and 4, so you can set up a play like that Rashid Shaheed touchdown instead of 3rd and 12. That's all I needed to see to be optimistic that this team could go right back to contending for the NFC South. So that is the part that is believable. I think they can make this running offense be functional. It doesn't have to be even a top 10 rushing offense. It has to be functional, and it's hard to watch this game and everything we saw in camp and not believe, I do think this coach and this system, even with the questions we have about the offensive line, there will probably be worse days to come with this offensive line, though they did better than I expected, especially Penning holding up a lot in this game. I think this run game is going to be a real thing that doesn't drag the rest of the stuff down.
To answer the question, yeah, I think yes, it's a big deal. Like, it's a big deal. I think that you can make the argument definitively, and no disrespect intended here, Pete Carmichael was holding them back. Like, there's no doubt about it. Pete Carmichael was holding this offense back. Alvin did not have a single game over the last few years where he averaged more than 4.6 yards per carry, and that's an even greater indictment on the offensive staff, because they didn't allow him to carry the ball like from the 1 yard line at all. Every single time they got down there, they gave it to Taysom. So it wasn't like he was getting 1 yard runs that was bringing the average down. Alvin averaged 5.5 today, and he had 3 runs inside the 5 yard line. Like, that brings the average down a little bit. He hasn't been over that mark since 2020. There is a clear distinction of difference here. And Alvin's an older player. There's probably some fading, but one game with an offensive coordinator that knows how to build a run game, that knows how to create space, that has a plan for how to put it together, how to put the pieces together, how to put them in advantageous situations, how to play the play action and the run game and the pass game and all that stuff together. He's at 5.5. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that he held him back. We talked about Taysom and the carries, and is the average going to be the same with him at running back as opposed to the quarterback, as you get the one-man advantage, which I kind of think is a little bit of an overrated math equation here, because the quarterback's still usually on the field, so is it really an advantage? Like, he's not doing anything but 7 yards. I think it's definitively clear, and I'm extremely comfortable with pulling out my jump to conclusions, Matt, here, and going right to the end. I think that is definitively clear that they have upgraded that a lot. And I mean, I don't mean to be rude to the man, but like, it was a major hindrance, and I think the change is a significant change. And you just see it in that number right there. Alvin with space, like, this looked like him back in the day. Like, he has space now. He's bouncing off of linebackers because they're linebackers and not defensive tackles. Right. You're getting him in situations where his balance and his leg drive and all that stuff still works, and we didn't necessarily see it all the time the last couple of years. You had to look for it, but there it is again. And then there's plays like he's bouncing off people and it looks like he shot out of a cannon, and it felt like a throwback performance. And like, that guy is still there. He's still there. They just didn't know how to use him in the other offense.
Mike, you described it as the Alvin Renaissance, and I think it's just really a run game renaissance. of, being able to run the ball. Dennis Allen, he said in the postgame that if you're able to run the football, he said exactly, like, it makes it easier to pass protect. When you're able to run the football, you have the ability to utilize play action in the passing game. So I think the overarching just narrative of this entire game is the Saints have found out how to effectively run the ball with the pieces that they have in the roster already.
Yeah, and again, I'm on the jump to conclusions meant with you. But again, I mean, the run game doesn't have to look – it's not like you have to run for 180 yards. Alvin and Taysom have to both be averaging 7 yards a carry in the first half.
Yeah.
It just – I mean, it went from – last year I was shocked. There were some statistics that were 32nd in the league. I think they ended up 31st in most, like, first down runs, yards per carry, all that. Tampa Bay was the only team worse. Like, just get me halfway between that and this. And it gives everything else on this team hope.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this is the best they're probably ever going to run the ball all year. This is probably the best they're going to pass protect the whole year. This is probably the most efficient passing game they're going to have the whole entire season. So I don't think this is one that should be used to set a barometer by any means. But the competency just in which the game plan was built, it's just evidently different than what it used to be. And, yeah, the run game helps. Like, when you can run the ball and you only got to pass block 28 times, like with Trevor Penning, that's only 28 chances of disaster as opposed to, I think, the Panthers had to pass block 42 times. And you're going to give up more stuff just on that equation. I think Trevor gave up one pressure the whole game. But one of the things I thought they were going to try to do coming into this game was establish a run and run at Clowney, so he has to defend the run. I thought they did both those things exceptionally well. That was a good plan for it. I think they sent help when they needed to send help, and that was a good plan. Like, everything just really fit together in a way that, like, we just aren't used to seeing. And even when plays were disaster plays, there was a run. It was early in the game. It got blown up in the backfield. It looked like one of the offensive linemen and Moreau, like one of the two missed blocks.
I reviewed that play. Yeah, there were 4 guys that potentially could have done the wrong assignment because there was 3 guys that got blocked and 1 guy that got completely ignored.
Yeah, I think it was either, I don't know who it was. It was an offensive lineman or Moreau. Like when I looked at it, but even when you seen that get blow up, though, like it wasn't what are they doing. It was just like they didn't execute this, and it's easier to kind of digest like a lack of execution as opposed to this coach can't put them in positions to succeed. And you never felt once today they had done something that was just, there was an inability to succeed. Like, you just never really felt that way.
One thing that was really interesting, you pointed out, I think it was on a play that didn't actually have a great result, but Olave getting in there and showing a willingness to block. I reviewed and did a story on pretty much the whole first quarter, and one thing that really stood out to me is how much Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson were involved in the run blocking very effectively, especially Foster Moreau. What a game for Foster Moreau, but they're a big part of the run blocking plan, those tight ends for sure.
Let's roll into our next segment presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Last week, Dennis Allen talked about, trying to prepare for week 1. Carolina, they have a whole new system with Dave Canales in there as their new head coach, building around Bryce Young. Well, quote unquote, building around Bryce Young. We got a chance to see today how that kind of worked out. But, did Dennis Allen figure something out about preparing his team for the season?
I think figure out maybe Sean, because they've won the last 2 under him, the last 2 openers, but this was different. This was definitely different. Yeah. They squeaked out a victory in week 1 last year, I think. Was that Carolina
Tennessee.
too? Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't, what was it, 16-14? Something like that?
Close. It was close. It wasn't like, oh my gosh.
I think it was 16-14. Yeah. It wasn't this. It wasn't this. I mean, I think they definitely had a great camp. I think they practiced hard the whole camp. They got more reps in. There was a good cadence. I think going against probably a higher quality offense probably helps your defense be more prepared too for the start of the season. I think he got the buy-in, though. I mean, I think the buy-in he has from this team is incredible. And I know there's a lot of outside noise about the coach and the team and where they're at. And I'm telling you, like, those dudes in the locker room do not talk like that. And there's a handful of them that I speak to incredibly honestly. And some people that were kind of, sketchy on things last year are like, the buy-in is crazy right now. Like, everybody's incredibly bought in, and I think today's the result of that. Now, that's conditional, of course. Like, you start dropping a bunch of games and people see bad plans, bad things, bad whatever. It's not going to be that. But I would say look at Alvin as a barometer right now. After games last year, even when they were winning, there was kind of a disenchantment with kind of what they were doing on offense. And today he's up there, and his press conference was basically a love letter to the city and the organization. Like, I can't remember the last time he seemed like that jovial after a game, and that's kind of where it feels like they're at across the board. I mean, I think he's done great things to build culture, to build buy-in. I think getting Taysom in a captain role was really smart because it kind of pushes him into more of a leadership thing. I mean, obviously that's determined by the teammates, but having Kubiak go out there and make sure he's on board, that starts with the head coach. That's the head coach having those conversations and setting up that structure. I say whatever you want. I think he's, the results on the field need to be better, but recruiting and just kind of keeping things afloat and then getting that buy-in, I mean, those are two things he's done well.
And look, you both wrote about that buy-in before this game was played. So it wasn't just how guys were talking after the game. Love letter, by the way, from Alvin Kamara to the city, the organization, and to Derek Carr. Another polarizing figure. Alvin was saying how hard Derek Carr works and how much he loved seeing him have that game. But you're right. You're especially right about it being conditional, though. And that's true of every coach in the league. Like, you're Brian Dable and then you're Brian Dable. You know what I mean? But Dennis Allen is not working against something. He's earned the buy-in to start, and it only goes away if it goes away. But did he figure out? I liked his summer approach better than I've ever liked it before. And not just hindsight, foresight. We were pretty surprised at how sort of relaxed the camps were the last 2 summers. The intensity of this camp was noticeably different. More plays, more demanding, faster paced, a little bit of a harder edged tongue. There were a lot of things that, even though he would never admit that he thought they got off to slow starts in the past seasons, and he kept saying, well, we've actually we started 2-0 last year. We've won our openers or whatever. I thought they got off to slow starts the last couple of years, and our eyes told us they were off to slow starts. And I think they did a lot to combat that this year.
Yeah, hindsight part of that. I think the only hindsight part of that I have is I remember me and you having conversations about this is kind of like a summer camp right now. That first year, it felt weird.
Yeah.
And I don't think we went hard enough talking about that year because it was first year, new program. It was kind of hard to know if, hey, does this mean something? Is what we're seeing actually real? Some players are like, no, it's still hard. So we kind of backed off of it. But in hindsight, significantly different. And looking at that one, kind of doing the autopsy of why weren't expectations maybe met that year? Why did it get off to kind of, again, they won the first game. It took an incredible comeback or whatever. They've found a way to win the first game. This one's way different than the other ones.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, it's kind of that was maybe a warning sign. And this time going in, I mean, it was evident from the beginning this camp was different.
Well, what's really interesting is I even did a feature story on Dennis Allen because I bought into it. He said, look, especially his defensive guys, it's DeMario Davis, it's Cam Jordan. He said, and again, they weren't going for a culture change when he replaced Sean Payton, who had just walked away. They liked their culture at the time. And Dennis Allen said, if I come in and change everything and start being a hard ass on these guys, they're going to see right through that. They're going to think it's change for change's sake. These guys have earned it. Well, this year's different. He was able to be a hard ass this year because they have all openly said, we haven't earned anything. Look at the results the last 3 years. His leaders are leading the way in that. DeMario Davis is we've let everyone down. We've underachieved. We haven't earned anything. They have every right to be hard on us. So the results of the last couple of years have helped Dennis Allen kind of.
For better or worse, this is entirely his program now.
Yeah.
He has all of his own coaches.
Yeah.
The holdovers are all gone. This is his team at this point. It's built how he wants it to be. Ride or die with it, really. I mean, that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah. We're going to hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue to analyze the Saints' season opener win. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with kickoff combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Comes with fried shrimp and your choice of soft-shell crab traditional or our famous thin-fried catfish, all served with garlic herb fries, starting at only $10.99. Only at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails. Wall-to-wall, state-of-the-art TVs mean you'll see every touchdown, Hail Mary, and big turnover in crystal clear HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino in Baton Rouge, where every moment is a win.
Welcome back to the mobile Oshner Andrews Sports Institute podcast studio here in the Superdome. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. There's a lot of players who had an impact in this game, but it's time to just narrow it down to 3 players we're up on and 3 players we're down on.
Three up? Can we have 33 after this game?
Before we hit that, I just want to read this quick comment by Greg, and I think it's I think it kind of hits the nail on the head on the last topic. Just to put a bow on that real quick, he said, when the offense did well last year, it felt accidental, like they didn't know how they did it and therefore couldn't replicate it. Everything done today felt like it was by design. I couldn't have put that better myself.
I used the word. I've used the word that Alvin Kamara used early this year, and I've repurposed it about 8 different times. But intentional. Intentional is it's how Alvin Kamara described this offense very early on to us, and I think he captured that very well. Yeah.
Speaking of Alvin, he's number 1 on my up list. I thought it was probably one of the better games he's had in 3 years. Definitely on that list. Looked really good today, so he would be my first up. My second up, I'm going Derek Carr. Thought it was a great game for him. Couldn't have been any sharper. Incredible performance. And my third one is Alontae Taylor, 3 sacks. Who else we got on the list?
To take the first 3? What the hell, man?
Jumped off the
Good thing there's a lot to choose from.
Let me get my 3 up.
No kidding, man.
Who else we got?
Rashid Shaheed, I have him as an up. Like you said, he looks like a totally different player. He's out here playing faster, looking sharper on his different routes, utilizing this offense very well. I'm up on Jawan Johnson. Made a special teams play today. Tipping the punt. Yeah. Tipping the punt and then doing a toe drag swag in the end zone for the touchdown.
And kept Foster in bounds on his touchdown.
That was awesome. He caught Foster Moreau on that play.
Selfless guy. And then finally,
Big
Blake
team,
Groupie.
little me.
That's right.
I can't believe you took Groupie.
Right. Yeah, I took
You
Groupie.
of all people, you never take the kickers. That was going to be my one. I thought we were each doing one, and mine was going to be Blake Groupie. Go ahead.
I had to snipe
on it.
Groupie. I mean, look, the question was, can he do it consistently and from distance? He did it consistently and from distance, so he has to go on this list for me.
You know how we chart every day at practice because they do extra points for you? He was 9 of 9 today. He only did that twice in camp.
Yeah.
That included a 57-yarder in his first one of the entire season to cement that he earned that job. All right. Well, he was going to be one of mine. I'll add Foster Moreau to the mix. As I said, man, there were so many plays on that. I did a detailed breakdown of the first 20 plays today. And Foster Moreau came up as a plus on many of them, as one of the best blocks on the play on some of those runs. He had the touchdown catch, which was awesome to see, and it was a really difficult touchdown catch after he missed the easy one in the Superdome last year. Just what a way for him to turn the page today. We got to give some more defensive love here. I was going to do Blake Grouping and Foster Moreau. I didn't know we were doing.
Well, you're looking for one. I'm just going to throw a guy out there because we've just beat the hell out of him. We've just talked
Trevor Penning?
Yeah, we've talked so much shit about him.
Down.
And he came out and he played a game that was. I can't say it was good until I go through it, but I can say he didn't force me to recognize him.
I watched every play in the first quarter, and there were 2 plays, and this is how I wrote it for one of them, where he didn't necessarily make a great block, but got in the way and was effective enough using the size he's got. Yeah. Got in the way, and that got the job done a couple times. He also had some very good blocks. He had the one you asked him about after the game, and you said, what did it feel like to throw that guy out of the club? And he goes, that felt really good. I've been looking for one of those. So, yeah, he had way more highs than lows, no doubt about it. And one more person. Who else does it? Well, here, how about Jordan Howden? That was a fantastic interception by Jordan Howden. Yeah, they both had one. Howden needed the up a little more from the same. He lost the starting battle. They went with Will Harris. Yeah. Will Harris definitely belongs in there. He earned the starting job and got the interception early on, but then Howden shook it off, played a lot today in dime. They played a lot of dime today, and he got that interception. So, man, we could probably name 10 more guys.
I think, too, Alante was my number 1 on defense. I think my number 2 guy on defense, and I think it's probably going to look even better when I go back and watch it. I thought Tyron had a great game. He had the forced fumble. He recovered it. And I thought I saw him doing a lot of stuff to cut away stuff down the field, too. It looked like he had a really, really good, really impactful game.
It's hard, but it's time for the down.
Well, we do have to mention Taysom.
Oh,
come on.
Yeah.
Number 4 player on the team, according to some.
Yeah.
Killed it today. All right.
We'll go one by one on these because I think it's probably going to be hard for anyone to get to 3. I was hoping to see a little more from Peyton Turner, and I felt like I didn't see him at all today. And that was kind of a down. That was kind of a bummer for me. I thought the pass rush as a whole was not necessarily great. I mean, Chase Young was in there repeatedly, but I think that's a game where you go back and you watch the film and you feel like he missed opportunities and he probably should have had a couple sacks. But I thought he was really impactful. But outside of him, it was kind of a quiet day for those guys up front.
And Peyton Turner played 21 snaps on defense today.
Yeah, and it was quiet.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. This is to echo your point about the pass rush. I had made this notation earlier. The secondary was obviously playing great today because I thought there was a ton of time. The Saints could not finish. They had 4 sacks today, and none was by a defensive lineman, I think. Yeah. And they could not finish. There were so many times where Bryce Young escaped the pressure, got free, made the guy miss, reset his spot, looked downfield, and then still had no one open and threw it away. So the defense was like those could have been disaster plays if he had found somebody after they didn't finish those sacks. The secondary was just playing so well that he didn't find anybody. I'm going to put Matthew Hayball in here because we were making the joke about how we had to wait 3 quarters to see him punt, and then he finally got his first 2 punts, and he would not have won the job if those were the 2 punts. If he did that in a preseason game, he would have lost this punting job. He probably has a little more leash because of that, because they gave him the job. But
yeah, I'm over 36-yard punts, man. Yeah. I'm over it.
Really disappointed.
Sticking with special teams, I'm down on it was hard, but I'm down on Cedric Wilson. Yep. He had a muff punt.
Yeah, that's fair.
I kind of expected the veteran to, kind of avoid those type of things. And another special teams one, it was kind of unavoidable, though, but I just had to put something on the list so I wasn't coming in here empty. It was J.T. Gray. He had a kick interference when he ran down, but it was hard for him to get out of the way of the guy. But
yeah, those are fair, though. Yeah. Fair game.
Cedric Wilson also, he was supposed to be the blocker of the receiving group. Like I said, I only did a deep dive on the first 20 plays, but I never wrote him down as the standout blocker in a play, and there were 1 or 2 where he was kind of chasing the guy who was supposed to be blocking too. So he may have had I can't say he graded out poorly as a blocker, but he didn't stand out the way like Foster Moreau did.
Now it's time to hit the hard, high Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey Player of the Game. We talked about him this entire show. Alvin Kamara is that player. What made him specifically the player of the game today?
everything was built off of his success. His ability to run the ball the way he did, set everything up. It opened everything up. It brings out the full menu of plays. It makes your bluffs more believable. You can't ever cheat on anything. And Kubiak calling some third down runs was diabolical because at that point you can never just say, oh, that's not real if they run play action on third down. You have to take it seriously every single time. Putting that on film, the willingness to do it in week 1 affects week 2 even if you never do it. It was absolutely diabolical to do that. I love it. I just like watching the offense today. Clint Kubiak should be the player of the game, but he can't be. So we're gonna put the guy that kind of made it all go, Alvin. And look, man, just kind of seeing Alvin back in that space, back in the light. Like that's where he should be. Like he should be that guy. That's who he's been his whole career. It felt like he kind of got back on that stage a little bit. Sort of like Rico and Peyton Full. Like he belongs up on that stage, and that's Alvin right there.
Keep shining, baby. You shining, baby.
That's right, man.
Alvin, one of his best plays. I think it was a 17-yard.
Mitch.
It wasn't
money-making Mitch.
Yeah.
It wasn't his 17-yard run on 3rd and long. Did he have 2 17-yard runs today? But he had one where the blocking wasn't the reason. That there was one he made by himself for 17 yards late in the first quarter. He had a pep in his step. I thought it was cool that we were talking. Speaking of Clint Kubiak, deserving credit. We were talking after the game. Alvin joked about it, but I think he was. I think he was being nice. Like, oh yeah, no, I never cared that they used to take me out on the 1-yard line and give Taysom my touchdowns. Come on, I didn't care about that. And Taysom used to say, "I'm sorry." Yeah, what do you have to be sorry about? I think that stuff matters to players, and
that's how you get paid.
And Clint Kubiak, absolutely. Alvin had one taken away by a holding call today. And gave him like 3 more tries until Alvin got in the end zone, and that kind of stuff is special.
I think players notice it. I think they notice your coach's willingness to do that for you. You earned it. You get it.
Yep.
You finish it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It used to be, Alvin to get down to like the 2, they throw Taysom in. He'll go back to the sideline. They'll come up with him. Hey man, players make touchdowns every day, B. You'll get yours. But today he got his.
That's right.
So that's what makes him the player of the game. Now it's time for the Martin Wine & Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrels like bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Today's question is, the Saints protected Carr pretty well this game against an okay Panthers pass rush. Can they do the same against, or even better, against the Dallas defensive line?
Degree of difficulty goes way up next week.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons didn't get hurt today, right? Dallas looked like they had a good game, too. They went into Cleveland.
Yeah.
They won 33-17, and I saw a tweet that Deshaun Watson was being booed on every play. So, the exact kind of worst case scenario that we were talking about. What if the Saints lay a stinker at home or the fans ready to turn on them? It's the exact opposite here, but Dallas made somebody look like that last week. So the degree of difficulty goes way up. Look, my confidence is we try to parse everything we saw on every practice when it's not even the real deal. How does Penny look? How does Fuaga look? How does Lucas Patrick look? Like, this was the most important test by far, and you got to feel better about them. But
yeah. No, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same at all. I think it's going to be a completely different game next week. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll probably pick Dallas to win next week. Mm-hmm. I think you have to. I think there's probably going to be some of the warts are going to come out. But kind of what you saw today, I think allows for the ability to kind of look beyond. Like, they can lose a game and it's not going to be the end of the world. Like the way they won today, I think instills some confidence that they'll be able to beat a lot of the teams that they should beat, and they might lose to some of the teams they should lose against. I do think that in a lot of areas. I know it's a weird thing to say, but I think in some of the key areas, especially on offense, there's a lot of young guys that still need to learn how to win. And I thought that was an issue last year, and that's probably something that's going to be an issue this year too. Today's a step in the right direction there, but I think asking them to hold up against that pass rush is.
Want to hear some numbers? Want to hear some numbers? 6 sacks for the Cowboys today. 2 by DeMarcus Lawrence, right? 2 by DeMarcus Lawrence, 1 by Parsons, 2 by Eric Kendricks, 1 by Overshawn.
It's not Dexter.
And 17 QB hits by the Cowboys today, including 5 by Micah Parsons.
Yeah, DeMarcus. Yeah.
17 QB hits today, 5 by Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hold on, let me see if I can get the pressure numbers on off of somewhere.
But we play both of those teams. The Saints, they play both of those teams this season. They play Dallas next week, and then later in the season, they got to deal with Cleveland. So now you kind of know, hey, this is how you deal with
Saints
Cleveland.
have been really good for a long time at being better than the teams they're better than, and not always rising up and beating the teams. Oh no,
man.
let's hear it.
What you got?
Micah had 9 pressures today. DeMarcus Lawrence had 6. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It gets real. It gets real. That'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in here for the live post-game show. If you're already subscribed, stick around because we'll have a brief overtime session after the game. We don't want them to cut out the lights on us. But if you're not subscribed, you should be subscribed to NewOrleans.Football because if you can't tell, we love the game. We love the hustle. Catch you next time.